Chair, board members, CEO. There are no members of the public wishing to provide public comment today, therefore we may conclude the public comment portion and proceed with the regular calendar. We'll start with a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting held on Thursday, September 18, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Kevin.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. No abstentions, no opposition. Having accepted the minutes, we may proceed with Chair. Do you have any comments today?
Not much, I'll just say welcome to everybody. Lisa, as usual, I'll just talk a lot more. I will remind everybody to vote. It's your civic obligation. Are there any voting sites in NYCHA?
Many.
Many.
You can, so actual voting sites in,
Many.
how many, you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can find out.
How would people find out?
We've been in early voting as well.
We do over there.
Yeah.
How would residents find out where those are?
They should go to the Board of Elections and check their local voting site.
We should really put that on our website. So anyway, well, I hope everybody does vote. Early voting now, voting day, election day is Tuesday. Don't forget to flip over your ballot and look at the ballot questions. My own view is that you should vote yes on all of them, but everybody will make their own decision. That's just my personal view, not the view of the NYCHA board or residents or people who work here or anything else. But I think it's the right answer. Anyway, that's it. Lisa.
Thank you, Madam CEO.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our October meeting. I look forward to covering today's items with you, including an update from our asset and capital management team. First, I want to take a moment to thank our staff and city partners for their swift, coordinated response to the recent incident at Mitchell Houses. Because of their professionalism and teamwork, residents were safely evacuated, and thankfully, there were absolutely no injuries. Their actions reflect the very best of public service. So thank you, operations, thank you, capital, thank you, everyone. Today, we also recognize two examples of that same dedication through the Mayor's Excellence in Customer Service Awards. Every year, the Mayor's Office of Operations recognizes city employees for stellar customer service. And this year, NYCHA staff were recognized in both team and individual categories for their continued commitment to serving NYCHA residents. Our complaint service team, led by Marcella Medina, handles some of our toughest cases with diligence, patience, empathy, and deep knowledge of NYCHA operations. A recent thank you letter from a resident's family described how one team member, Orkin Menasharov, went above and beyond, staying in touch after hours to ensure repairs for a senior were completed quickly and thoroughly. That's true customer care. We're also honoring Jimmy Santana, our Vice President for Brooklyn Property Management Operations, a proud NYCHA alum who started as a caretaker. Jimmy leads with heart. Under his leadership, Brooklyn has become one of our top performing boroughs across many metrics. His hands-on, deeply connected to residents, and he's always focused on making our communities stronger. Both Jimmy and the customer service team remind us that great service isn't just about fixing issues, it's about compassion, follow-through, and respect. Congratulations to Complaint Services and to Jimmy. We're so glad that your work and dedication to NYCHA residents is being recognized. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I think we can proceed with the agenda.
I have to say, that's, the customer service awards are amazing. I don't know, I'd be interested to know how many NYCHA has gotten over time, but I bet it's ticked up in the last bunch of years.
We get them quite a bit, and
I still have not gotten one.
maybe someday. But to see the commitment, the empathy, and the commitment to customer service is really very great, and as you
Absolutely.
pointed out, it's year after year.
And then on the Mitchell houses thing, I should just say, I mean, it's sort of a similar thing, it's the devotion to making sure that everything gets done right. The day that the Mitchell houses incident happened, you know, that morning, everybody was all on site, you know, people got briefed up, I got a call whenever it happened from, I think, Andrew Kaplan, the chief of staff, and I checked in a couple times over the course of the day, I talked to Eva several times and others. And, I mean, it just, you can tell when somebody's got control of something. The team was in control of everything from Eva's team through communications to thinking about resident relocation, and it was on, I don't know how late were people there? Had to be all night, basically,
All night.
yeah, and probably for the next several days, so it was really a remarkable thing to see.
Yeah, the teamwork and collaboration that you see at NYCHA, you know, today happens to be the anniversary of Hurricane Sandy, which is where I met Jamie and a lot of people who are now NYCHA employees. And that dedication to a crisis and an emergency is something that you can't really replicate. But I see it every day at NYCHA, that people are just digging in and working hard and rowing in the right direction for a common purpose, and that's all in service to our residents. So thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. We will move down, we have several reports today, and so we'd like to start with the first one by Sean Mavani and Dylan Baker Rice on the asset and capital management update.
Thank you very much, board members, for the opportunity to present our annual update on the work we're doing in the Asset and Capital Management Division. This looks very similar to the last 2 years we've done this with a few additions, so I'll move relatively quickly, highlight a few items, and then I'm very happy to take any questions or feedback that you have. We can move to the first page. This is a page you've seen before in the past, just overviews the work that we do in our division across property modernization, so capital projects and related work, sustainability and resiliency work that we lead for the agency, and technical advisory and support services we provide across the agency. Moving to the next page, I think this is more helpful to look at some of those areas. These are our 2025 year-to-date kind of figures across select service areas and metrics. We've added a few more this year from what we shared last year. The ones at the top that are highlighted in kind of light yellow are kind of our financial performance in terms of the funds committed and expended across capital projects work, the status of capital projects from a schedule perspective, how many projects in construction in particular are and their schedule status, and the number of projects we're completing each year. And so you can see kind of the trend annually from 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So we've kind of increased over the years and stayed at that level. For example, we are at $766 million committed to date this year. We're looking for a similar number as 2024. Similarly, as our expenditures as well, we're targeting close to $1.1 billion again for the second year in a row. Our project status has improved over time, and we've brought it up to now about 80% plus consistently month on month. And the number of capital projects completed, we're at 86 in year to date, and again, we're targeting a similar number as last year. There's a range of other metrics included related to things like our change order performance is the next line, our stakeholder engagement, our quarterly property meetings, the sustainability pilots we're doing, the emergency work we do, including cases like Mitchell, and a range of others below that are more of our technical services that we provide to operations, to the real estate development group and others. And this year we've included our Section 3 numbers at the bottom, which are always of interest to the board. And those have been progressing year on year well, and we continue to hope that this year again will increase our overall annual performance on Section 3 and targeted Section 3 workers. The bottom line may be of interest. When we talk about Section 3, we usually talk about percentages or labor hours. It's a little bit harder to understand what does that mean in terms of, you know, the equivalent job opportunities we're creating through capital contracts. And so here you see kind of our labor hours converted into a full-time equivalent type of number. So you can interpret that, you know, in 2023, for example, we created 98 equivalent full-time jobs for targeted Section 3 workers and 105 overall Section 3. And year to date in 2025, the numbers are 43 and 130. And so this is obviously a very important metric that we track. We work with resident leadership and other parts of NYCHA on. Just moving to the next page. One initiative I did want to highlight from earlier this year, we spent some time working on this in the last year and a half very closely with our colleagues in operations and the real estate team, is a new set of interactive design guidelines that live on NYCHA's webpage. What these guidelines do is they set minimum standards as well as kind of stretch goals for any type of renovation of a NYCHA property through whatever program that's happening through the work we do in asset and capital management, through our PACT program, and what we prescribe to partners we're working with through PACT and the trust. They also allow our properties to provide direct feedback. So for example, if there are guidelines around a certain type of asset, our property staff can go in and say, I'm having issues with maintenance and operation of this asset, maybe we should consider a different design in the future. So it allows us to solicit feedback from the rest of NYCHA based on their experience, as well as from industry partners like architects, engineers working with NYCHA. And so we've had a good amount of outreach from other city agencies to help them replicate something like this. And so this is one kind of tool that's very critical for our work that I wanted to highlight to the board. And you can see how the layout looks. They're all different asset types. There's detail on each type of area. There are specific documents, specifications, things like that architects and engineers have used to review and work with us in these different areas. Just moving to the next page. This is if you've seen in the past, kind of how do our projects and investments array across the city. Obviously there's a lot of information in there, but just reinforcing we have quite a broad portfolio today. That you'll see in a moment the numbers around that, but with significant amount of projects across different developments at NYCHA and funding that's also well distributed across many of the properties. If we go to the next page, this is a different view of that portfolio. On the left, we're showing you the number of projects and the phase that they're in. So we continue to hover around 600 active projects, just below that at 576. Most of those projects are in the bottom two blue bars, construction and closeout. So a lot of the funding that we got after the HUD agreement has now moved to largely be either completed or in construction. And so that's kind of driving our portfolio. On the right, you see the financial view of that. With the total budget by phase, the remaining budget that's not been spent for projects in those phases, and then what's available to us today, right? We don't only operate based on what's available, we also operate based on our 5-year capital plan and what we anticipate will be coming to us from the federal, city, and state governments. And so you can see those numbers there. 67% of our projects, 63% of our projects and 67% of the total budget, again, is in construction and closeout. And that's the feedback I think we get frequently from residents, that they're seeing a lot more work on the sites the last few years and seeing that investment really go into the properties. If we go to the next page, this is a similar view, but rather than by project phase, by our scope area or the type of work that we're doing. So on the left, you see the largest number of projects we have active are waste management projects. These are typically smaller dollar. They're funded through the City Capital Action Plan under the HUD agreement. And then heating is our largest portfolio, roofs, energy efficiency, and other areas. On the right, you see the financial view where our largest financial commitments in the last few years have been in heating systems under the HUD agreement targets. Also roofs, Sandy, and now our comprehensive modernization portfolio is quite large. Moving to the...
What's the difference between budget, funds, and total budget?
So the total budget is the all-in budget of a capital project, so everything...
No. One is 4500, the other one's 2983, so that's...
Yes, so the remaining
less than
budget is...
7931.
Yeah, so the difference between the 1.5 billion is money that we have not yet received from the federal, city, state governments that will come in the next few years. That is already committed in these projects.
Got it.
Yeah. Great, thank you for the question. We can move to the next page. The last page on our financials is just tracking our expenditures. As I mentioned, we increased to above $1 billion on the left in 2023. Last year we stayed at a similar level, and this year we're targeting a very similar level of expenditure as a proxy for kind of progress in our projects. On the right is our city funding commitment rate, which is quite important, obviously, from the city perspective. We were able to bring that up significantly through 2024. In 2025, you can see that the black line dipped a bit to 73%. Part of that is we now have a broader set of teams in NYCHA using city capital money, as well as the trust uses city capital money that shows up on our budget. So we're now coordinating better on how we ensure commitment and utilization of that funds. We expect to bring the number back up to 80 to 90% again this year. On an absolute level, you can see our commitments in the blue bars in 2024 was 862 million and dipped to a bit under 600 million in 2025, but we expect very significant commitment year at this year of close to 1.2 or $3 billion if we hit our target. And so just moving to the next page, I'll pass it to Dylan to cover the next set of slides.
Morning, board members. So this gives another cut where we look at our portfolio and the percentage of completion. The first 5 lines highlight the HUD pillar projects, so heating, elevators, and waste management. You can see on percentage completion, we're closing out on rat slabs with the last one finishing next month. In terms of portfolio size, boilers, heating, not surprisingly.
Okay, so I know what a rat slab is,
Yeah.
but if you could just remind everybody else what a rat
Yeah.
slab is.
So in a lot of our basements.
Is it like a salt lick for rats?
It's to keep the rats out.
Oh, get out, got it, yes, of course.
So we're installing rat slabs in the basements, so it's a slab and that's one of our pest management measures, so basically they aren't burrowing through it. They're as appealing as they sound.
Is a rat slab different than a regular slab?
No, not.
Just curiosity.
Yeah,
It's just a
basically-
concrete slab.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's just a concrete slab.
Yeah,
We just decided to call it a rat slab.
we just call it a rat slab because we're putting it not
Specifically for the rats.
specifically for rats, not for any other structure or reason.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, otherwise it's a dirt basement floor, so they burrow through, so
Yep.
putting
And
the
it becomes a
concrete.
problem.
It's really a vermin slab, any vermin.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
just keep out rats. Got it. Obviously.
Raccoons, skunks, I'm sure.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Vermin of all kinds.
Vermin slabs are next. Actually, we'll close out, so no more vermin slabs. And then our Sandy program is 3.3 billion, you can see that's about 77% complete, we'll talk about that more. Roofing is 2.2 billion, where we're 75% complete. And then you can see facades and other areas of our portfolio, which are scaling up significantly. Next slide. So I'm gonna go through 3 case studies. The first is our comprehensive modernization program. We have 4 projects. This is a design build contract, so we're working with a single entity for design and construction. 194 million, it takes place in Toad Hill, which has 7 buildings. Each is about 6 stories, 502 units. Before and after, you can see we're doing similar to the PAC program where we comprehensively renovate the interior of the buildings. There's a new kitchen there, there's a model unit. We're progressing quickly on relocation where we've relocated 142 residents. We've worked with ATAC, with operations, Healthy Homes, so it's really a collaboration across NYCHA to deliver these projects. And I think an example of what happens when we do comprehensive work, it's really amazing if you have a chance to see that for model units. Next project. So the heating portfolio, again, is one of our larger portfolios. So pink houses, we did what we often do, we decouple, so we essentially take an existing steam boiler. We've put in new high efficiency steam boilers and taken off the domestic hot water. In this case, we're moving towards electrification. We've built these new annex buildings or heat pump buildings, and so this is an air source heat pump. And there we worked with the community to put up murals on the buildings. This is also a design build project, and you can see smaller in scale, 39 million, roughly 42 months to complete. And so a lot of coordination with our heating group to deliver this, and a lot of coordination also with Reese and resident engagement to make sure that we're coordinating with residents for access. Next project. This is another case study, the last one. So in this instance, we actually worked with DEP. This was our first scale up of cloudburst. So we have problems with inland flooding. That's more common at some of our sites where we have a lot of water that is building up and flooding on our sites. So this is a first attempt where we have modeled this, and people from Amsterdam have come over to see this. It's kind of a new model where we built a new sunken basketball court. And the idea is the sunken basketball court kind of sequesters and holds water to slow down water infiltration into both the larger site and into the stormwater or drainage system. So it's really a way to capture and slow rainwater and something that we're scaling up. So we actually had a DEP employee that seconded to work with us for that, and we've coordinated the whole time through with DEP. Okay, next slide, please. So like I said, we have 8 sites with ongoing work for Sandy. The bulk of them are really completing. 2 are closing out at 98%, 94% next quarter. The remainder are going into next year. The Coney Island sites into Q2 next year. Red Hook, East and West, really one of our largest developments and largest projects to date, is closing out also in Q3 of next year. Cary Gardens, where we continue to have challenges with our contractor, and working through the challenges also with the designer of record, is slated for Q2 of next year.
Who is the contractor at Cary Gardens?
Dobco,
Dobco?
yes. And I think that's the only development that we have Dobco at. But anyways, most of the work is nearing completion with access to the site. You can see the other column, 85%, 89% is access to the site as we're removing fencing and residents regain use. I'll pass to Sean for last one.
Yeah, so just to stay on Sandy, we have had some delays from what we reported to you last year. We had hoped to close all the projects this year except for Cary because of those issues we're having there. So we had some of these delays which we're trying to really get closed off, given it is the 10-year anniversary now of Sandy. 13, sorry, I mean Sandy. And it's been, some of these projects have run quite long. We've learned a lot from that experience. And for example, our comp mod, still I mentioned, Cherry Hill, we have 2 buildings almost done already. Relatively running ahead of schedule, and so I think we've learned how to run these really large projects in a different way, and to be successful with them, as we'll see in the next few years. The last page we added this time was, we thought that it might be helpful to give some visibility on our vendor pool, right? The board is approving contract awards and other types of transactions on different named vendors. May not have overall sense of what does our vendor pool look like for our capital work, and we go quite deep into this in our NYCHA meeting each year with a whole slew of different analytics and pages. We distilled that down to some key metrics that we thought could be helpful to understand. And so what you see in the table, just to overview that and then I'll highlight just a few points, is looking at our different vendor sourcing and contracting metrics, specifically for RFQs, or requests for quotes, which are sealed bid type of procurement. So the typical type of procurement that's most common for us. Right, so you can see the numbers, what they look like. We're doing about 50 procurements a year in 2023, or RFQs a year, I should say. You dip down in 2024, that just really has to do with the timing of where different projects are. We're back up to 48 now year to date. The number of bids we've received on those is 295 to 288 this year. And the unique vendors submitting bids. For several years, we've been working very hard to expand our vendor pool. We do a lot of outreach. We'd like to bring in new vendors who have not traditionally considered working with NYCHA or working on residential work that's owned by the city, and really convince them that if they come and work with us, we are a good partner to work with. It's very meaningful work, and at the same time, it helps us in terms of competition, pricing, quality, et cetera. And so one of the things we track closely is how many new vendors do we bring in each year. So you can see we brought in 16% of new vendors bidding in 2023. It dipped a bit last year. We've redoubled those efforts, and again, we're at a similar level by chance this year. It's very important to us that at least 10% of new vendors are coming in each year and taking on some of our larger projects. So that's kind of the positive side of the story. We have seen with new vendors coming in for other reasons, our non-responsive and bid failure rates have gone up quite a bit. This has to do with getting used to NYCHA's processes and our kind of systems and things like that they have to work through potentially for the first time if they're working with the city for the first time, but also some process and policy changes that we've made that we need to continue to refine together. We have a very active working group with other parts of NYCHA to actually pilot a number of new approaches that would resolve our bid failure rate. Our bid failure rate is a combination of when vendors do bid, but their pricing is not very good. It doesn't comport with the market, and we have alternative contractual mechanisms to do better, and so that's when we bring RTRs to you all for approval. We're rejecting everyone, we'll use a different method. It could be because not enough vendors bid because our pool is just not rich enough, or it could be because of some of these process issues where vendors bid but they get kind of filtered out because of errors in their submissions or other types of issues. That's where we're working right now to really bring those numbers back down and to benefit from having that larger vendor pool. The 2 metrics below that are kind of like our cycle time. So what these are looking at is how long does it take from the time that we prepare a document for a solicitation all the way to when the bid closes. A lot of things happen in that period, from advertisement, refinement of those documents. We may have to extend that process if we don't get enough bidders initially. We may have to add addendums to the bid during that process. Any of that can push it out. And then the second metric looks at that point of bid closure when everybody submits, all the way through board approval where that's required. And so you can see we're tracking around 200 plus days for the first part of that process and 124 in 2025 year to date. I think some of the changes in the board thresholds that have been made will hopefully help us over time to bring that down as well, with less volume having to come to the board, but that is tracking close to a year. And we'd like to really bring that down over the next few years because it has grown in the last few years, and I think there's a lot of work partnering with the Chief Administrative Officer, the CPO, and others to really do that together in a very positive way. The last metric might be of interest, which is around what does our vendor pool look like? So we have about 65 active capital vendors in the sense of vendors who are involved in construction contracts, if I leave out the architects and engineers. That's been pretty stable for the last few years, but it's been growing a bit, as I mentioned, 10 to 20% each year to try to increase the vendor pool. Amongst those 65 vendors, the top 10 vendors account for about 50% of our contract value. So that's kind of where our concentration is. And then the remaining 55 obviously account for the remaining 50% of our contract value. That's been relatively stable too. The last few years you've seen it's grown a few percent from 2024 when we started tracking this actively to 2025. But it's something that we try to manage from a risk perspective to not get overly concentrated with any given vendor. So, if you look at our list today, the largest vendors obviously are St. Nicholas, Mod vendor, who doesn't have any other project with us, but we have other vendors who do a lot of small projects with us. We might have 50 different projects with them, and so we use this concentration view to really manage risk around that. So that's the end of our presentation, thank you.
That's great, thank you. And a lot of this reflects great progress and excellent work. I will say, just this, we've already been through this, you and I, but just to say it, two things can be true at once. You guys can be doing a great job and moving as quickly as you think you possibly can, and everybody is contributing to it, and the time to cycle through can be ridiculously long, which is a problem for everybody. So, and I think those two things probably are true. So there's something is not working well in this process. It cannot be the case that last year we had 37 RFQs. I mean, I don't know, I know it's not the same 37 probably, but it's 37 RFQs. And to get one from the RFQ to where we see it here is a year. That's insane. So it's not your fault. There's just, it's a legacy example of a place where NYCHA siloing has not yet sort of worked its way out of the system, and there's other legacies from having to do things the way the city has to do things, and for perfectly good reasons, things just accrete over time and become unworkable, but that doesn't work. I mean, you have 37 RFQs, none of this hangs together. 37 RFQs, you've only got 58 unique vendors. So there's vendors in there that are repeat players, they all know how to do this. There's not that many that you're trying to compete against each other. So this should be, I mean, that's not great either, but at least it should be faster. That's just, so there's work to be done.
Yeah, and we're completely aligned with you on that. And there's a number of initiatives from vendor training so they can run through that process to simplifying our process to improving our internal work within asset and capital management to prepare better documentation. So we appreciate the feedback, and that's something we're very focused on. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Just a question about federal funding. Have we seen any indications of slowdown or any indications for next year?
Nothing to date, and I would highlight on one of the pages we showed our IDA program. There's a lot of uncertainty around that funding, and in fact, we've been very pleased in the last few months. We've had 11 of the 13 grants obligated finally, so we now have over 300 or 400 million that's now come in. And so in fact, on that space with FEMA, we are seeing good progress after a lot of work for a few years. Otherwise, we don't have any slowdowns or indications to date so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Sean? You have your other report. Your quarterly report. The quarterly report.
Okay. Great. So this is a new report we're submitting for the first time under the changes to the PPM that were passed by a board resolution in July of this year. There's a new reporting requirement for change orders and contract capacity increases between 1 and 5 million that the board used to approve and doesn't now approve. But to give you visibility on that, on the basis of the PPM as well as the authority's delegation record, I have signatory authority for a certain amount of change orders and going forward on contract capacity increases. And so this report is for Q3, and it is presenting out 6 change orders where I've made that approval during the quarter. And that is not new in the sense I would have approved in the past as well, but some of those would have gone for CPO approval or for board approval, and on new thresholds they don't. And so we have a very robust process internally within Atlassian Capital Management for review and approval of change orders at multiple levels, all the way up to me. And this table summarizes those 6 change orders. There's a lot of information here, and you may be wondering why we've done that. One of the complications is that the trigger for board reporting now is not only that a change order itself is above a certain size, but that change order plus the cumulative previous change order since the last time it's come in front of the board, trigger a certain size. So there are 6 change orders across 4 contracts. The first 3 change orders are for a single contract, which is with Adams European around our Sandy work at Red Hook, so $550 million project. There's a good amount of numbers in here. What I would point to is the second to last column is the actual current change order that I approved that triggered the reporting need here. And you can see the change order values range from $350,000 to $945,000. None of them are over $1 million, but the reason they're coming here, them plus the previous change orders trigger that need. That is in the previous column from the third to the last. That shows you the cumulative amount of change orders that have come. In the case of the first row, this change order, in addition to 3 others that were approved before that were also small, total to $1.1 million, and that's triggered the reporting. So just giving you a view how the table works. There's obviously additional information there around the specifics of the contract, the term being funded, the original contract value, change order state, etc. So going forward, we would plan to report in this format to you every quarter, both change orders and potentially in the future as well contract capacity increases that I may be approving on IDIQ or job contracts. Happy to take any questions if there are any. Great, thank you very much.
Sergio?
Good morning, board members. My name is Sergio Paneque. I'm NYCHA's Chief Procurement Officer. Today I'm presenting the Chief Procurement Officer's quarterly report covering the third quarter of 2025 from July 1st through September 30th. As outlined in the report's cover page, this quarter's report includes a total of 47 items. Of these, 38 were contract capacity increases and 9 were new contract awards. All transactions reported were conducted in the regular course of business and are compliant with the procurement policy manual. Are there any questions? Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you so much. We may proceed with the regular calendar. We'll proceed with item number 1. Michael Deutsch.
Morning, board members. My name is Michael Deitch. I'm a VP of Infrastructure and Operations in IT. I'll be presenting item number 1 for your consideration, which is a request into ratification with AT&T for telecommunication services. Commencing November 12, 2024 and continuing through November 11, 2029 is based upon terms and conditions of the New York City Office of Technology and Innovations, OTI's Telecom Enterprise Agreement. The total not to exceed amount for this renewed 5-year contract is $18,178,486.80. Under this agreement, AT&T provides a comprehensive range of voice and data telecommunication services that are critical for supporting technology initiatives and improving operational efficiency. AT&T provides extensive service coverage across all 5 boroughs of New York City. These services include, but are not limited to, long-distance telephone, wireless services, session-initiated protocol or SIP voice trunks, multi-protocol label switching or MPLS for network traffic routing, and voice-over IP services for telephone. Through this Technology Enterprise Agreement, or TEA, the authority qualifies as an eligible entity authorized to obtain services from AT&T. To access these services, the TEA requires an execution of a Participating Services Agreement, or PSA, between the authority, AT&T, and OTI. The collective purchasing power of this multi-agency agreement, along with favored nation clause in the TEA, ensures that the authority benefits from favorable and significantly reduced pricing under the PSA. Under other economic opportunities, AT&T is committed under OEO to provide 200 hours of technical support and consulting services. These services will include coaching and tutoring for the authority's residents aimed at reducing the digital divide. The services will be delivered either through direct NYCHA programs or in partnership with other nonprofit organizations. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Morning, board members. My name is Tony Maldonado, Vice President of Purchasing, Logistics, and Inventory, and I'll be presenting item number 2 on behalf of the Supply Management Procurement Department for your consideration. Item number 2 seeks authorization to ratify the award of a requirement contract to A Electrical Supply Corp. In the amount of $5,362,287.43 for the purchase and delivery of electrical supplies such as clamps, conduits, wire, and pipes. This is a 5-year requirement contract which includes 2 one-year renewal options. There is a minus 30.63% variance between A Electrical's bid and the authority's cost estimate. This variance is primarily the result of competitive bidding among vendors, which created a more favorable pricing environment and led to substantial cost savings for the authority. A condensed responsibility check for A Electrical was approved by the Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Department on May 28th, 2025, citing no issues to preclude award and that the vendor is deemed responsible for a contract award with NYCHA. Given that this contract is for goods only, a Section 3 hiring plan is not required. Any questions?
Thank you. Take your time. Letitia.
Good morning, board members. I am Lakeisha Miller, Executive Vice President for Police Housing, presenting item number 3. Requesting authorization to ratify amendments to the authority's Housing Choice Voucher Admin Plan. So, it is in accordance with, the last board resolution 25-2/26-2. And in accordance with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, regulation at 24 CFR 982.54 B1, governing the Section 8 program. We are revising policy to be consistent with the new HUD guidelines and addressing minor edits to provide better clarification of existing policies. I won't read through every single item for you, but I do want to highlight that the ratification was necessary to make amendments to policy to accommodate households like the Emergency Housing Voucher Program. We learned this year that what was supposed to be a 10-year program has been shortened and the funding runs out at the end of 26. So we made policy adjustments to be able to begin transferring them over to Section 8 as funding is available. Any questions? No. No? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Letitia.
Morning, board members. My name is Dia Barnes. I am an assistant director with LHD's Brooklyn Client Services. And today I'm going to present item 4 for your consideration, which is a request for authorization to ratify the agreement with the Fund for the City of New York, which provides housing navigation services. Oh, thank you. Okay, provides housing navigation services.
You will be required to sing the rest of it.
Which is assist new voucher holders in locating units and completing the rental process, up to about $520 per month. The agreement commenced on July 22nd of this year and is continuing through July 21st of 2030. This includes an initial 3-year term and 2 one-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. The entire not to exceed amount for the 5-year term is $8,235,810. The approval to enter into this agreement prior to the board approval was received by the SMPD from the Chief Procurement Officer on July 21st and was awarded to the vendor on July 22nd. The Section 3 hiring plan's total estimated labor hours is 21,840, and the Section 3 total projected labor hours is 0. For the OEO, the vendor will provide indirect employee participation by hiring 1 program assistant and 1 program coordinator, each for 20 hours a week at $25 an hour. The Procurement Ethics and Vendor Responsibility Department approved a condensed responsibility check which found no issues to preclude the award. And for these reasons, LHD recommends that the members approve this board resolution and permit the ratification of entering into this agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Jacqueline?
Good morning, board members. My name is Jacqueline Sullivan. I'm the Senior Vice President for Healthy Homes, and I'm presenting on items 5, 6, and 7 today. Items 5, 6, and 7 are requesting authorization to award 3 related citywide contracts for general construction work to facilitate repairs of surfaces where mold has been previously abated. Each contract is a not to exceed amount of $10 million. Item 5 is for AWL Industries for a total projected labor hours of 75,086 with 19,830 Section 3 labor hours. Item 6 is for Gemco Electrical Contractors for a total projected labor hours of 5,500 with 1,375 Section 3 labor hours. Item 7 is for Sweet Group for a total projected labor hours of 5,652 with 1,413 Section 3 labor hours. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Good morning, board members, colleagues. My name is Oliver Osterwind, Vice President for Project Management. I will be presenting the next 2 items. Item 8.
Oliver, before we begin number 8.
Yes.
Are you moving into the record your quarterly temporary suspension report
I am.
for waste management contracts and asset and capital division's project expenditure update?
Yes, I am.
So moved. Great. Let the record reflect that the aforementioned report are incorporated into and made part of the record. Thank you. Now you may proceed with number 8.
So item 8 seeks authorization to award a contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Roma Scaffolding, for the roof replacement and rooftop structure renovations at Patterson Houses in the amount of $33,589,000. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, the removal and replacement of the existing roofing system and related work, including asbestos and lead abatement. The contract term duration is for 2 years, 5 months, and 27 days. The projected Section 3 labor hours are 6,480, which represents 25% of the overall. And a vendor name check requested on August 25th is pending. If there are no questions, I'll move to item 9, which seeks authorization to reject all bids for HVAC upgrades at the community center at Roosevelt's 2 houses. The first lowest bidder, RAMS Mechanical Inc., was deemed non-responsive. The failure to submit the required abatement license for the minimum qualifications as outlined in the authority's bid documents. In addition, the bid is 65% higher than our cost estimate. The second, third, and fourth lowest bidders were deemed non-responsive for failure to submit the required letter of assent pursuant to the project labor agreement terms and failure to submit various licenses required to perform the contract work. In addition, all bids exceeded the NYCHA estimate substantially, and this contract will not be rebid, and instead ANCM will perform the work using a job order contract. Thanks.
Thank you, Oliver. Item 10, Vanessa.
Good morning, board members. My name is Vanessa Dinsmore, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Labor and Employee Relations Division in the Law Department. I will be presenting item number 10, that requests authorization to amend the July 26, 2017 board resolution, which had authorized an increase in the daily per diem rate by the authority to its trial officers presiding over New York State Civil Service Law Section 75 disciplinary proceedings. This current resolution would increase the rate of compensation from $400 to $600 for each day, and increase the bus fee, which compensates trial officers for the loss of an anticipated workday in cases that settle close to the hearing date, from $150 to $250. This would be effective November 3rd, 2025. This increase is to make sure that our rate of pay is more competitive, so we have available quality trial officers to schedule and preside over our disciplinary cases. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Anita?
Good morning, esteemed board members. My name is Anika Lescott Martinez, and I'm the EVP and Chief Financial Officer of the Housing Authority.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I am pleased to present item number 11 for your consideration. Item 11 requests your authorization in furtherance with Resolution 24-11/21-27 to enter into a participation agreement with the trust, with the authority providing the trust with up to $25 million of funds, of which $8.5 million shall be used to repay the authority for sums already advanced pursuant to the prior board resolution, and the remaining $16.5 million will be used to fund ongoing trust operations. The trust annual budgets will still go through the normal NYCHA board approval process. In exchange for such continued support, the authority will receive, via participation agreement, a percentage of ongoing developer fees paid to the trust, which shall be no less than 10%, or such remuneration as the authority and trust may later agree upon. Any questions? Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Anika. Nina?
Good morning, board members. My name is Nina Farahanchi. I'm a project manager on the transactions team in the real estate development department, and I will now be presenting item number 12. Through NYCHA's PACT program, NYCHA seeks to convert developments from Section 9 funding to project-based Section 8, a more stable source of federal funding. We do this through HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, known as RAD, and by partnering with a team of for-profit and nonprofit developers, general contractors, social service providers, and property managers. Through the PACT program, NYCHA has provided over $8.6 billion in capital repairs to over 28,000 units, of which 13,000 have completed construction, representing over $2.6 billion of investment. Today, we are seeking board approval relating to the PACT conversion of one development, Ringgold Houses. As pictured on the map, Ringgold Houses consists of 984 units and is located in the Washington Heights neighborhood of Manhattan. Ringgold Houses was part of PACT Round 12, and additional details about the transaction can be found in the board materials. We first came to the board for the conversion of Ringgold Houses in October 2023, where we sought board approval to submit the initial applications to HUD. We're now returning to the board to request authorization to seek the final HUD approvals and enter into documents necessary to close on the PACT conversion in the coming months. The PACT partner team consists of the following groups: Ringgold PACT Collaborative LLC, a joint venture comprised of Genesis Companies LLC and Community League of the Heights Incorporated as co-developers. Community League of the Heights Incorporated will serve as the social service provider as well. And Pinnacle City Living LLC will serve as the property manager. Upon receipt of our application to HUD, our RAD application, HUD issued its initial approval for the transaction through its commitment to enter into a housing assistance payment contract on June 18th, 2025. And at closing, NYCHA will enter into a housing assistance payment contract which shall be administered by the authority's leased housing department. This transaction remains subject to HUD's RAD approval, which is required prior to closing. The City of New York issued its letter of support for the proposed transaction on October 4th, 2023. Recapitalizing and rehabilitating Ringgold houses is anticipated to cost approximately $605 million, and the final transaction budget remains subject to approvals by NYCHA, HDC, and HUD. The authority and the PAC partner have met with and will continue to engage with residents throughout the pre-development process via meetings and written notices. To date, NYCHA and the PAC partner have held 8 meetings, and all residents are advised of their ability to access legal services regarding any questions about the conversion. In terms of resident hiring, the PAC's partner has put together a hiring plan that details training opportunities and projected labor hours. Preliminary opportunities include no less than approximately 400,000 projected labor hours and 100,000 projected Section 3 labor hours. We're anticipating that the conversion at Ringgold will take place in the next few months, and we'll continue to work diligently with our partners and residents to ensure that the transition is as smooth as possible. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions about item 12.
When is the work expected to be concluded?
The conversion is anticipated to take place in early 2026, and we're looking at a 48-month construction schedule.
48 months.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I say this every time we have a PAC thing, but I will just say it again. I mean, this is $600 and some odd million dollars?
$605 million
$605 million.
transaction.
And PAC overall has been something like $8.5 billion, of capital put into buildings. And, that is just, that's money that the agency gets every dollar that it can out of every other source in the government. We get all the federal money we can possibly get, we get all the state money we can possibly get, not much. We get all the city money we can possibly get, and that's all there is. So that's $8.5 billion, $600 million, and anything going forward that wasn't going into NYCHA absent the PAC program. There's no other source that we decided not to tap. So no PAC, no $8.5 billion of capital improvements. It's not more complicated than that.
Thank you.
Thanks, great job. You're the $8.5 billion woman.
Item number 13.
Good morning. My name is Camille McLean, and I'm a project manager on the transactions team in the real estate development department. I will now present item number 13. We are seeking board approval relating to the PAC conversion of 2 developments, Moore and East 152nd Street, Cortlandt Avenue, collectively Moore Cortlandt. The developments consist of a total of 684 units in the Bronx. Moore Cortlandt was part of PAC Round 12, and additional details about the transaction are in the board materials. We first came to the board for the conversion at Moore Cortlandt in October 2023, and we sought board approval to submit the initial applications to HUD. We are now coming back to the board to request authorization to seek the final HUD approvals and enter into documents necessary to close on the PAC conversion at Moore Cortlandt in the coming months. The PAC partner is made up of the following groups: MC Preservation Alliance LLC, a joint venture comprised of Brisa Builders Development LLC and Mega Group Development LLC. Cornell Pace Inc. as the property manager, Mega Contracting Group LLC as the general contractor, and Bronx Works as the social service provider. HUD issued its initial approval for the transaction through its commitment to enter into housing assistance payment contract on March 13th, 2025. The City of New York issued a letter of support for the proposed transaction on October 4th of 2023. Recapitalizing and rehabilitating Moore Cortlandt is anticipated to cost approximately $475 million. The final transaction budget is subject to approval by NYCHA, HDC, and HUD. The authority and the PAC partner have met with residents and will continue to engage with residents throughout the process via meetings and written notices. NYCHA and the PAC developer have held a total of 12 meetings at all developments at Moore Cortlandt since designation to date, and residents are advised of their ability to access free legal services to discuss questions regarding the conversion and their PAC Section 8 lease. In terms of resident hiring, the PACT partner has provided a hiring plan that includes no less than approximately 52,000 total estimated projected labor hours and 15,600 estimated projected Section 3 labor hours. We anticipate that the PACT conversion will take place in the coming months and will work with our partners and residents to ensure the transition is as smooth as possible. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions on item number 13.
I don't need to say it again. Yeah, exactly. What is it, what's the thing you say when it's, when it's already been said in legal? Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Or
I refer you to my earlier comments, thank you.
I did have one observation for both this project and the Wrangle, that you reported how excited the residents are. That there is a kind of a building of excitement and that they see the benefit, so I was happy to hear that, so.
It really is true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move to approve the items, I would like the record to reflect that the board members were provided with all these reports prior to the board meeting for their review, and that all the reports will be incorporated into and be made part of the record. With that, do I have a motion to approve the 13 items presented here today?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Excellent. We have a motion, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? None opposed?
You do it, I gotta go.
And we will just for the record make sure to reflect that Vice Chair Gonzalez was not present here today. And the adjourn time today is 11:01. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.